As of the past couple of weeks, the Switch 2 pre-orders were finally released here in the West, and as expected, they instantly sold out, and hundreds of pre-orders are listed on eBay right now for ridiculous markups. I unfortunately was not able to secure a pre-order, so at the moment it seems like I won't be able to make any day one Switch 2 content for the time being. So instead, I want to spend some time now to talk about the current 8-year-old Switch 1 and see if it's still worth looking in while the Switch 2 demand and stock situation is being sorted out. Because perhaps depending on what systems you have currently and how interested you are in the Switch 2, it may be better to just grab the old system first and upgrade later, but I'll get into that. So let's do it. Now, I will first say this. At this point in time, I have a really hard time recommending getting a brand new Switch 1 currently. Not only has the price remained the same over its lifespan, but the Switch 2 basically will do everything the Switch 1 can for the most part. And with how close the Switch 2's release is, even if it takes a little bit of time for stock to settle in, the new console is such a major upgrade to the original that I feel like if you have the money already to buy a Switch 1, it would be better to save up until then. However, looking at the used market though, that is an entirely different story. I am seeing the most expensive Switch OLED model going for under $300 mainly, sometimes even under $250 on some sites like eBay. The cheapest Switch Lites can easily be found for under $120, which is a steal at that price. For those price points, I think it's a very cheap and accessible way to grab one of the best selling systems today, and I think that if you were to grab a Switch 1, this is absolutely the route I would take. And that's not all. There's still a lot to like about the console today despite its age. Now, I won't go too in depth on my points as I feel like most of them basically are a reiteration of my 2024 video. So if you want to see more of my points, then check out that video. But I will reiterate in this video the two major things that the console still has going for today. First, let's talk about the size. Even with the wave of modern PC handhelds and super powerful tablets, the Switch systems still are some of the smallest modern consoles that you can get your hands on. Even if the ergonomics are not great in today's market standards, the size alone makes them easy to carry around and can fit in a lot of bags, especially the super compact Switch Lite. Now, specifically with the Switch OLED, you also get a really awesome and gorgeous display. And even years from now, it still looks fantastic. There's also the easy local multiplayer aspect. Not many recent handhelds have detachable controllers or ways to play local split screen on the go easily, so it's super simple to set up a quick tabletop game of Mario Kart with a bud out and about. And on the topic of Mario Kart, you have the second major benefit, the excellent library support and wide first-party and third-party titles. First-party games like Super Mario Odyssey and Tears of the Kingdom have proved to be absolute system sellers, being some of the best released games over the past decade, and third-party support has been pretty solid as well, with a wide selection of some of the best games on the market like Persona and No Man's Sky to play. And currently that library continues to grow still, with recent releases like the Xenoblade Chronicles X remaster and the upcoming Pokemon Legends Z8 also releasing on this old Switch 1, it seems like this console still has some life in it. Now, they won't perform as good as alternative counterparts or even like the Switch 2 in the future, but I think having such a robust library makes buying the system, especially at those used prices, a lot more valuable because you can easily get hundreds if not thousands of game time on just the system alone despite the age. So to wrap it up, first of all, absolutely do not buy any current Switch at their retail price. I think you are basically ripping yourself off at this point if you're buying it brand new. However, I think you can make a really strong argument for picking one up used while the Switch 2 supply situation gets sorted out or while the price is still pretty high. If you are someone who absolutely wants to play these games right now or doesn't really have the money to afford the new console for the time being at that $450 price point, I think the current system is a good recommendation at a fraction of the price used, and you can carry over your games onto the Switch 2 if you grab one later down the line. You will end up with some compromises, such as the worse performance and no access to those new Switch 2 only exclusives, but the value proposition used especially is still there in this market where current systems are getting more and more expensive. It's still one of the most accessible, and widely supported platforms to play some excellent games on. But there's also nothing wrong waiting for a Switch 2 if you really wanted to. If you can afford the new console and have the patience to wait, the next Switch could easily be the best way to play the Switch 1 library, but that's going to be up to you. That's all I'm going to say. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.